Hey, welcome to episode 6 of the Be Fierce Multisport podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bartholomew, and today we're going to be talking about runDisney and the recent announcement that the Disneyland races are going to go on pause after 2026. So I'm here with two of my runDisney buddies. We've known each other for like 2 years now, something like that. On
Might
and
be
off.
three. It's been
Might
a
be
while.
three, might be
Yeah.
three, and probably longer because we've like bumped into each other, and not known
Mhm.
each other. We're all like the keep to yourselves until someone tells you that you shouldn't do that kind of people. So I'm here today with Sharon Hamilton and Greg Hasler. And why don't you both kind of introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background?
I'm Sharon Hamilton, and I am a mom, and I live in the DC area. And I started doing Run Disney, probably pretty close to when I met you, Jill, 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. I started in 22, so not
Yeah.
that long ago in Run Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
And
definitely run into some runDisney
Mhm.
people who have done every single event since it started.
I've probably done almost every single event since I started, but that's not since it
Same,
started.
same. I think it started like 20 years before either one of us started.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Greg, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Greg.
Mhm.
I live in San Francisco. I'm the West Coast compatriot here. And I've been doing Run Disney regularly since 2019. That's when I started with the Star Wars run, I think. But I did do two Run Disneys back in 2011, but wasn't quite.
So you're the veteran amongst
I
us.
did it long ago. I did a coast to coast. I did a coast to coast. I did the half marathon weekend and then the Disneyland half in September was my
Nice.
original. I loved it, but for some reason I didn't keep with it until I came back in
Mhm.
19.
Yeah, I did my first runDisney race was marathon weekend. I think it
Mhm.
was 2019 or 2020. It was also my first half marathon. I
Wow.
did I did the only the half marathon at that weekend. And
Uh-huh.
I had, I was recently divorced and, had gotten into running as like hey, I lost a bunch of weight post-divorce. How do I meet new friends where like our social circles are never going to intersect? And like running was it. And I'm like, hey, it's a cheap sport, it's just a pair of shoes. Yeah, now we all react that
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
Right, and see how it
Mhm.
spiraled out of control since there. Yeah, and
That's
then I was like, I had done some 5Ks, I had done a 10K, and I was like, I wanted to sign up for like the 5 and 10 at Disney World, and they had been sold out. So I was like, all right, I'll do the half marathon. It's only twice the distance. It's runner's math, right? If you can do a 5K, you can do a 10K. If you can do a 10K, you
hmm
can do a half. If you can do a half, you can do
Mhm.
a full. And if you can do a full, you can do an Ironman, right? That's how it works. And
No, no, it doesn't work that way. I promise you it doesn't
maybe
work that way.
no,
maybe
you
you
just you're
can.
Maybe you can.
you're capable of it, whether you want to or not. It's
Yeah.
a different story.
Different story.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
you know, I had seen that, or someone had mentioned to me somewhere. They're like, "Oh yeah, do you know they do runs at Disney?" So I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh, you can do runs at Disney." And it started a very expensive but somewhat healthy new addiction.
hmm
So, and I'm not aware of anyone having come up with a 9-step program for this one yet, or 12-step, or
I,
however many steps
I
it
don't
is.
I
think
think
there
we
is
didn't.
one. Yeah.
No, there should be. We did. It's Disney sort of got me back into running because I was a runner a long time ago, like in my 20s, and did a bunch of races back then, but then I had gotten out of it after having kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then during COVID, I was already a big Disney person, but I was like, oh, I don't run anymore. Like I knew about Run Disney, but I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, like I
yeah.
don't do that anymore. Like I'm not like, why would you get up at 2 in the morning at Disney? And so, but then I started running during COVID
Wait,
because
2 in the morning, so you sleep in?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I sleep really late. But occasionally, for the marathon, it was like one, but two usually. But because I started running during COVID, because it was COVID, and what else are you gonna do? I started, and that's when I started.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't do one until 22, because it
yeah,
was
yeah. I think
I wasn't running before that.
I think
Yeah.
COVID was the biggest boon to the running industry that
Yeah.
they've probably had since the invention of the sneaker.
Hmm. Yeah. And then my first time that I tried to sign up for Run Disney, I couldn't get in because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I like didn't prepare at all for registration. I was like, oh, that's today. And so then I started doing my homework, and now the rest is history.
And you've since learned the secret sauce to getting your registration.
And since
Exactly.
I have somehow managed to be at all of them.
Right.
That's no easy task. And do you do the 5K at each one?
No,
Oh, okay.
never the
Yeah, but
5K.
both of you shun the 5Ks, and I'm like, that's one of my favorite ones. It's unfortunate it's not timed, but like starting from the front of A, it's like it's such a fun race.
I actually had way more fun at the 5K with my daughter when we started in D with a bunch of our friends, because we just walked. And so it was like an hour-long walk through Epcot, which was much more fun to me than like a 20-minute sprint through a dark Epcot at 5 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So my son's first 10K, I think you might have met him at his first 10K. We ran from B or C, which is his corral, and he had done a bunch of 5Ks. And I remember distinctly telling him, I'm like, this was the first springtime surprise. And I remember telling him, I'm like, it's only like 2 5Ks back to back. Sorry if I'm squeaky. I lost my voice on Sunday and it's like slowly coming back, but it's very annoying. I have to talk low to have a voice. My kids are making fun of me. They're like, Mom, your voice has dropped so low. Yeah, I remember telling him, I'm like, it's 2 5Ks back to back. I'm like, that's it. And so, on the 10K, you go out, you start, you go out to the left. And this is when, when we still had to do the long march before the start line. You go out to the, you go down the start chute, you kind of go to the left. And then around, like just before marker 1 or just after marker 1, you make the 180, flip around, come
Sharp turn.
And then you go to the bottom of the hill, do the other turn, and then start going up the ramp of disdain that like everybody. Do you know on Strava someone names that Heartbreak Hill? And I'm like, oh, hon, you really need to go to Boston. Yeah, that ramp on Strava is Heartbreak Hill, apparently.
Yeah.
And like it's an on ramp. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
So,
No, it's not.
So the 5K mark is around the top of that ramp. The 5K mark, he was great too. He ran, I don't know, like 24, 26 minutes to get there.
Was he like 12? How old was he then?
He was the minimum age
that you can be to do a 10K. That's 10. You can be 10 to do a 10K.
Surprise, the first year, he had to be a year younger than all the other races. And I don't know if it's because like the temperatures or because like the 5K was at night or something, but I don't know. There are plenty of small children at the 5. Anyways.
Yeah.
So like he made it to like 3.2. And then he's like, Mom, my legs hurt. And I'm like, congratulations, son. Like every step you take from here is a step further than you've ever run before. And now you guys saw him at Springtime Surprise. Right now he's finishing like in the top 10 in these races.
He is fast. And I don't think I ever heard him complain about his legs hurting. On the 10K. No.
Actually, it's so funny. He hates the 10K. It's his least favorite distance. And his rationale, meanwhile, I'm like, I like the 10K, but
I love 10Ks.
I understand his rationale, right? So his rationale is he's like a 5K, it's a sprint. You go all out and it's manageable. And like, he's like, a half marathon is an endurance race, right? You have to, it's hard, it's long, you have to manage your effort, blah, blah. He's like, a 10K, he's like, I don't know what the heck a 10K is. He's like, it's like some stupid distance in the middle where it's not a sprint, but it's not an endurance race. And I'm like,
I mean, that's not bad logic.
Yeah. It's like
he's not wrong.
I know.
Proof of time.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah. So anyways, but you're so I think that was the first time you guys met him or at least Sharon, was at his first 10K.
I think so. I think I was at that one that he was at.
You've done all the spring times.
Which was the first one? The first one I did was
Oh man, I don't remember the years. It was the 5K was through Everest, and the theme of the 10 miler, it was
Wow.
the Tower of Terror 10 miler.
No, I didn't do that one.
You didn't do
My first my
I
first one was the next year. My first one was the Toy Story 10 miler, I think.
Oh, that was the year I ran out
Yeah.
on a tractor light.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Smart. Uh-huh. It was
Yeah.
Well,
just
you know,
Yep.
it was like 99% healed. I had the
uh-huh.
doctor was like, go for it,
Exactly.
have
What could
fun.
go wrong? What
Don't
could
hurt
possibly
yourself.
go?
I was totally not trained for it. But 2 months
Yeah.
later, I went and PR'd my marathon. So like, it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
All right. So Disneyland.
Mm.
Sharon, you did
Mhm.
Dopey to Dumbo, right? Or you did
Uh-huh.
you
Well,
did
I did Dumbo that year. I
you
didn't do
did Dumbo
Dopey,
that
but I
year.
did Dumbo. Yeah.
Okay.
And Greg,
I did
you
Dopey to
you
Dumbo. Yeah.
yeah, you did
That's how we
Dopey to
Mhm.
met.
Dumbo.
We met at Disney. We met at
Well,
Disneyland.
it's funny. We had like stood next to each other in corrals before.
Yes.
That's when you
Yeah.
guys met?
But
Was that Disneyland race?
it was
Mhm.
Yeah.
so we had like kind of stood next to each other at the
Dumbo.
races in Florida.
Yeah.
And then there we're like, I know you. I know you.
Yeah.
We stood next to each other last week.
Yep.
And then what I really remember was, and maybe it was like the bonding point was, Greg, you and I started next to each other in the half marathon and we finished next to each other in the half marathon. We ran very different
Finished.
races in between,
Yeah.
but we
I would
both,
put finished in quotation marks. We limped across the finish line together.
well, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, I mean, it was an hour 48. So it was a
Oh, we
respectable
did really good time, but we were both hurting. I think we were glad there wasn't
but
another race.
it was, 70,
Mhm.
it was seven start lines in what, 10 days,
Hmm
77 miles. And, it was, one weekend and then the next weekend with some flying in the middle. And were
Yep.
you on the same flight I was going over there? I don't remember. I was
I
on
don't think I was. I was
I
on
yeah, I was
American,
on the
so.
flight where like the radar equipment stopped working. They got like, I don't know, over like
Mm.
Mississippi or something. They turned back and went to Miami for us to get a new
Oh,
plane.
no, that was not my flight, so I was not on that.
You would remember.
Yeah,
I would
Mhm.
remember.
it was like, isn't there a closer airport than like the one in Florida back that way?
Yeah.
And I remember them getting on the intercom. They're like, we're really sorry, people. And then we get on the ground and they tried to fix it. And they're like, it'll just be another hour. I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
nothing in the airline industry is another hour.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Eventually,
No.
like 6 hours later, 8 hours later, they got us a new aircraft.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we had been expecting to spend the entire day in Disneyland. It was well, I guess not our first because I had taken the kids earlier, but it was John's first time there. And it was only my second time there. And like, we were expecting to spend the whole day in Disneyland. And I think we got there right before park closed, just so that my thing on the annual pass didn't get like the tick against me. Because yeah,
Do you have a Disneyland annual pass?
I have a Magic Key, and
Oh.
Wow.
the Magic Key is different.
Mhm.
You still have to do park reservations, but if you don't show up,
Oh, you get in
counts
trouble.
against
Oh,
you.
you get in trouble.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
if you don't show up like 2 or 3 times, then you can't use the Magic Key for
Blacklisted.
for like a month or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I have heard that.
I'm like, no, I don't want to. Versus like Florida, where like
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, but we still have the reservations, and half the time you can't get the reservation for the park you want, so you have to scan into a different park so that you can then immediately drive over to the park you want to go to.
That hasn't been happened lately.
Oh yeah, it still happens.
Oh,
Oh, it
it hasn't
does.
happened to me in a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
don't go during the peak anymore. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
the
Oh, maybe it's only during like peak because run weekends are
like the
never.
other day
Yeah.
was May the 4th.
Yeah.
Well, that day it would happen. Yes.
APs got blocked out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That makes sense.
yeah, there's like some lawsuit that like these essentially amount to
Mhm.
blackout days on passes that don't have blackout days.
Yeah.
So, interested to see what happens with that.
Wow.
All right. So we've all been to Disneyland. We've all been to Florida. What do you think of the upcoming pause.
I mean, it's sad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
not
say it's
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about registering for it, and I was traveling. I think I was in Texas for the Ironman
Mm-hmm.
Texas during that registration period, so I ended up
Mm-hmm.
forgetting about it and not registering. And now I'm like, do I go chase down a
Mm-hmm.
charity? Greg, does this sound familiar to you?
it sounds
Uh-huh.
familiar.
Uh-huh.
Except I haven't been chasing very hard. So
You've got some time. But I'm
I
like,
got time.
do I go chase down a charity?
Yeah. I mean,
Or
you could get one. It wouldn't be that hard.
no,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or do you say,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I got my coast to coast, but they made the
Yeah.
coast to coast medal this year so pretty. The one we got was like the fudgy little suitcase
Like a
thing.
Yeah.
license plate.
Yeah, and now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
the 2025 one's really cute, right? With wall
Well,
color.
that's why I signed up for the Halloween at
Yeah.
Disneyland, was because of that
Well,
medal.
I'm also signed up for the Halloween, but
Right.
not
So
going
you'll
for
get
that
that
one.
one.
Yeah.
You're not going because you have that conflict, but
Yeah, like a wedding.
like you have to get married. Ugh,
You have to get
you
married.
know, things interfere.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, Lake Placid and then a wedding
mhm,
and Kona. I'm like, I'm registered
mhm.
for it. I don't have a hotel. I don't have flights. I could go, I guess,
If
but I have a feeling
had,
if I travel anymore that my kids are going to disown me.
if I had to put money on it, I bet you'll be there.
You'll
I
be
just
there.
think you will.
Yeah. Only if
Well,
you
I
only.
did
Yeah. I was gonna
I
say.
did renew my magic key, and so like
Uh-huh.
I need to get some use out of it because like those
Well,
things are not cheap. Like they're worse than Disney World. I
oh,
think.
right. Well, and
Yep.
they have more rules and stuff. Well, this is a little new. I was trying to figure out what to do for the Disneyland race, and long story, but I had to get a ticket for one day for Disneyland because of how I'm doing the travel. Like I have a ticket for a package, but I needed just a one day ticket.
Oh, okay.
And I got a one day Disneyland ticket for like $100.
Really?
I mean, it's like on a
Wow.
Wednesday,
Wait,
Wednesday or
is that like
Thursday.
one of the enter after 4 p.m. tickets?
No, it's a whole day ticket for
Huh.
Disneyland for $100.
Wow.
It doesn't have the Genie Plus or whatever, but I didn't really care about that. And
Yeah.
so,
I'm like that
because
sounds
it's
like
like yeah, I was like,
That's
oh,
a
that's not
deal.
bad at all.
yeah.
I thought so.
Even Disney World
Yeah,
prices these days for Magic Kingdoms, don't they start at like 120 now
at least, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
for
higher.
during like off peak? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like September 5th or so. It's like a Thursday in September, so it's not exactly a peak day, but I was like, that's not bad. Like that's
Yeah.
not,
But
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like the Thursday before Labor Day, though. So it's
Is that Labor Day? Is Labor Day
well,
the 7th? I think it's the Thursday after Labor Day. I don't know.
it was the Thursday after. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I
one
don't
of
know.
those two
I don't know.
weekends. It's Labor
Yeah,
Day.
it didn't seem too bad.
I don't know
Mm.
that.
But
I don't know that. I told you guys, we're getting married in Magic Kingdom in August, and that was one of the big questions that everyone that we invited has asked is like, do I need to get a park ticket? I'm like,
yeah.
need is such a strong word. It's
Yeah.
like, do you need a park ticket? Not to see the wedding,
Yeah.
but you do
But you're in.
need one if you want to stay in the park after.
Yes. And
Exactly.
wouldn't you want to? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm
You
not
came
paying.
all the way to Florida for a wedding.
Right,
Yeah.
You
right. I'm
didn't
like,
want to
I'm
go
not.
to Disney.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not paying for park tickets for everyone
No.
No.
because
No.
this podcast does not make enough to.
Uh-huh. $1.50 is not going to spread that far.
No,
Yeah.
Exactly.
$1.50 a month is not going to support
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think that the whole cancellation of Disneyland is Run Disney conspiring to make sure that I never skip a weekend, because I was not going to do Halloween, and then I saw the Coast to Coast medal, and I was like, okay. I talked to Kim, and I was like, okay, well, we're going to do Halloween. So then I just did Halloween. Then I was like, I'm not going to do marathon weekend. I'm going to do the Disneyland weekend in January instead. But they didn't release the dates, and they just had it TBD, TBD, TBD. And so I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. So then I signed up for marathon weekend. Then they released the dates for Disneyland, and I'm like, I'm not going to do Disneyland because that was the whole deal. I'm doing marathon weekend. I'm going to skip it. Then they're like, we're canceling Disneyland races forever.
Yeah.
So I signed up for Disneyland. I think they're just personally messing with me to be like, you
They
think
are.
you're going to skip a weekend?
So are you doing Dope to Dumbo now?
No, I am doing Goofy to Dumbo.
So you're doing the half and full?
Yeah.
See,
I don't do 5Ks. I hate 5Ks.
See, I don't understand. So I'm like, so like, you live a couple hours south of me, right? But we both are like mid-Atlantic. I'm like the north end of mid-Atlantic. You're like the south end.
Yeah.
And, it's a similar climate, right? We get some humidity and we get some heat, but it's minus a couple of weeks in the summer. It's not that bad. And then you go to Florida, which is kind of like the depths of hell.
In August. Yes.
In August.
If you put the depths of hell inside a sauna.
Yeah.
Right.
And lit on
Perfect
fire.
for a wedding.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a wedding.
Right. Well, it's funny. We picked the date like very pragmatically. We looked at the race schedule.
Yeah. Well, that's what you got to work around. Yeah.
We looked at the race schedule and the school schedule, and I'm like, okay, there was one weekend where we're like, okay, if we do it on this one weekend, we don't have to mess with race schedules and training, and we don't have to take the kids out of school. And it's far enough from the start of school that it doesn't piss my son off too much. Because, that last week before school, the kids find it to be like sacred.
Yes.
They're like,
they really have to get in their loafing.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I need my Xbox time, Mom. But yeah, no. And then I went and bought the wedding dress, and I'm like, it's at Disney. We're getting married literally in front of the castle.
So it's got to be like a big princess
So
dress.
it needs to be a big princess dress. I said to the lady, that was helping me at the fitting, I'm like, it needs to be worthy of, a Magic Kingdom. It needs to be a princess dress, Cinderella dress. So like, without sharing too much, because I know John listens to this, right? I'm like, I think it's gonna be like 1,000 pounds in the August.
What time of day is the wedding?
The ceremony's at 8 a.m. So
it'll be nice. 8 a.m. is nice.
Yeah, so it's an hour before park opens, but the early entry guests will be in the park.
Coming in.
So I'm like, okay, that's going to be interesting. Like I didn't.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that. Now I'm tempted to go down there and get an early entry.
Well, do you want to share? Like I have connections. I could probably get you invited. So back to Run Disney, right?
Yeah.
So, I was expecting that this weekend, because of everything you just said, Sharon, right? Like all the uncertainty and then the announcement, it all came like fast and furious. I was expecting it to sell out like wildfire, and it didn't.
No, it was easy. That was like a super easy registration day.
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was Rise and Run, rattled off like all of the times the other day, and it was like normal, like maybe slightly faster. It was like an hour for Dumbo to sell out. It's like like a half hour for the 5K. The only one that surprised me was yoga.
That's because it's a Muppets theme. People love the Muppets. People love Muppets. That's why.
When does Disney yoga have a theme?
Disneyland.
I don't know.
Oh,
I thought the last. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they don't at Disneyland. I've never done it before, but I'm doing it at Disneyland in Halloween.
I just like sign up for the yoga. I love the yoga at Disney. I think although the one this past,
the pouring rain, that one looks fun.
Was that Princess?
That was Princess.
Yeah, the one in the rain kind of pushed my limits of like what I'm willing to do for the free purple mat.
Right.
It was purple this year. It was green last year. It was blue the year before.
Yeah.
What's going to be next year? Orange?
Yeah. I have the green one. Nancy gave me hers. But I've never done the yoga before.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So like, you got to get there early. And
you got a good spot.
And at Disney World, like the yoga is like, they've done it enough times, right? It's super well organized. Like it's a madhouse, but it's super well organized. The one at Disneyland, at least when I did it last year, it was none of the above. I've heard that they've learned a little bit, because we went to the one in 2024. It was the first race back after like a decade. They flew in the Run Disney people from Florida.
That was chaotic.
And apparently didn't listen to anything they had to say. It was run by Disney Events, not Run Disney. But I thought that the one they did for Halloween last year was actually run by Run Disney. Aside from
It
the
was
heat,
better.
I heard it was a lot
Yeah,
better.
it was. I mean, it was better in terms of organization and like all of that. Like the
Yeah,
logistics were a little bit smoother. Like
I mean,
the
they
security was organized and stuff.
okay, and I
Was
mean they
better.
can't control the
Yeah.
heat too much, right?
Yeah, the
The
heat was
Disney
not
bubble
better.
in Burbank is different from the one in
Right.
Florida.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but the race is more quaint, I would say, at Disneyland, right? I mean,
hmm
It's more like a local race.
yeah,
hmm
exactly. You know, the
hmm
stand right there in front of us, right, with the announcers.
Yeah.
I mean, although
Yes.
we were
Oh, I
doing
love that.
trivia,
I did
we
I
were
did
doing
find that
trivia in the
I did
crowd.
find that strange.
It
And
was
I
so,
like
strange.
it.
It was quaint.
although I find it funny, so Carissa, um, you know, I had no idea who she was before um I got into Run Disney, right? But now it's like, a Run Disney race without her is not the same. And
Mm-mm.
we had what was it? Was it the half where she wasn't there or she was late? She had
Mhm.
something going on with her family. But now, like I go to these Ironman events and she's the announcer at some of them. And
Wow.
I'm like, I can't get away from you.
It's like seeing your teacher at the grocery store. Like, what
It
are you
kind
doing
of is.
here?
It
Yeah.
kind of is. Because, you've got like, for me, like there's two worlds, right? And there's not a lot of overlap between them.
Mm-mm.
I will tell you that like Run Disney has a reputation, right? And the reputation recently is like it's largely like slower beginner runners.
Mhm.
And we all know, like we all run from the A corral and we've seen it and we've been around a while. We know it's both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, like they especially marathon weekend, they do get some of the elite athletes there. But the reputation in the non-running community is that it's kind of a joke, right? So in the Ironman community, when I run across other people who also do Run Disney, I'm like, I love you.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
last year I had put down, we have to put down our I'm on a team and we put down all the races that we're doing. And all the Run Disney ones is like me and one other person, except for marathon weekend. There's a fair number.
Couple people do dopey.
There's a fair number,
Yeah.
and someone who I won't name, was like, "Are you sure you want to admit to doing those?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love them. They're fun. They're what got
Yeah,
they're
they
what
are
got me
fun.
into
Yeah.
running." And it's like I started in the F corral, my first Run Disney race. I didn't have proof of time, and like the whole reason I got a coach in the first place was because I don't want to be in the F corral anymore.
Yeah.
You do
Unlike
not.
you, Sharon, who's been doing it your whole life.
Yeah. But I like that about it. I like that it's not so serious and that it's so accessible to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, but anybody, like you could be
Yeah,
fast and yeah.
Yeah.
although like there's like the cliques that have formed, and on the one hand, like that's what's great because like they're really big races. Like Marathon Weekend is one of the largest running events in the country. It
Mhm.
might be the largest. It's one of the like top
It's a
two.
lot of people. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Like last year, I saw a
hmm
thing that like last year there was over 100,000 runners at the event in total, or 100,000 people, or whatever.
hmm
And it had eclipsed New York Marathon for like total number
Mm.
of participants.
Mhm.
But it's over 4 days, not one day.
Mhm.
But there's the cliques that form. Like I mean, there's the 5 or 6 of us, right? We've met, we've
Mhm.
become friends, and there's others, like there's brands that have popped up around it.
Mhm.
Like Crown Athletics.
Oh yeah.
I love their
Mhm.
tops. I run in a lot of them, like they're cute, especially on Princess Weekend, right? And there's some others that have kind of come and gone. And how many, well, we're very sparkly on run weekends.
A lot of sparkling.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like brands
There's a lot of
that
sparkle.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, like brands that these things have inspired. But back to your point, Greg, like it does feel like a more local race. Like that was one of my
Mm-hmm.
first like impressions when we did it in 24 was like the 5K. I mean, you could tell that there were some growing pains, right? Like the characters were like the regular characters that are out every day, and they like didn't know how to
They were
behave.
too slow.
Well, yeah, I was like at the front. I was like at the front of the 5K, and this like normally the people who are at the front of the 5K or 10K or whatever just pop in, pick, pop out, right? It's like 2 seconds or less.
Don't talk to me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't acknowledge I'm here. Just smile and
Just-
like you've got a mask on, so I don't think you're sticking your tongue out at me, whatever.
Right.
Because I won't know it. And they were having like full on character interactions. And was that the first one that had not Merida? There was a new character at one of those. I forget which one.
I know who you're thinking about. Are you
Yeah.
the one from Encanto?
One from Encanto. Yeah.
I can't think of her name.
Not Maribel.
Maribel.
Thank you.
Maribel. Yeah.
We're all like Disney people, and we're sitting here like, I know what she looks like. What's her name?
Got the glasses on, and she got a doorbell.
Yeah, wasn't that the first one that she was at? She was like,
Probably.
It might have been
like
one of the first ones she was
and
at.
she was
Yeah.
like super chatty. And,
Yes.
and anyways, I just remember like this one stop, I was like, dude, shut up and take the picture. It's like this is not a character interaction. There's not autographs to be signed. And, and that was like my first impression of that was like, huh. And there wasn't a lot of photographers either on that one.
There was not, but I love the 10K at Disneyland.
It's the best.
Because it's all park.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think like at Disneyland, 10K is the best one.
It totally is.
The 5K is not spectator friendly like at all because it starts and ends in the park.
Yep.
And they don't allow the spectators at the finish line because it's too cramped. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. I never had a spectator there, but it would make sense that would not be the most spectator friendly.
Yeah, I did, and he was very unhappy.
Yeah.
And he continues to let me know how.
But they let like for the Princess and Marathon weekend at World, they let spectators into Magic Kingdom. So did they not let spectators into the parks?
They let them into the park.
Yeah.
So for the 5K, they let them into California Adventure. But they couldn't go to the finish line area because it finishes like right in that Pixar area.
Yeah, right by the Little Mermaid, kind of.
Right, and it's like really no, it's back where the roller coaster is.
By Pixar Pier.
Yeah,
it was all the way back there.
And
okay,
it's like it's very narrow there. So for them to like have the finishers and the finisher shoe and the like plastic cheese boxes and so on. Yeah.
Were you there at Halloween this year?
No.
Because I did the 5K at Halloween, and that I wonder if they moved it for that reason, because the finish line was you went all the way through Pixar Pier around where all those like the swing ride is, and like right in front of the Little Mermaid. You turn left to Grizzly Peak, like that's where the finish was.
Okay, because that area is much larger.
Yeah, I think they had spectators. Maybe they took the note. John made a strongly worded email and they changed it because I think it was better at Disneyland.
John was very vocal about his discontent.
Yeah, it sounds like they maybe fixed it. But I agree the 10K is the best. But I also like the half there, and that people hate it. People complain about it so much.
I don't understand why people hate it. I'm like,
so here's my theory. I have a theory. Okay, it's because all of us, I think, are people who like to just run races. Like I run tons of races that are not Disney races. I just like to go racing. And so I think because there is no bubble, the second half of the half marathon in Disneyland is like it just feels like a road race. And you're going past gas stations and neighborhoods and whatever, which I like that. I like running through, doing races in different cities. And so it's like, you're just running through Anaheim, which I like because I would like to do a race in Anaheim. And I think the Run Disney people that are like really just Run Disney people that are like, I go to Run Disney because I want to run Disney are like, why am I running down a road next to a Wawa?
No, you're exactly right. It's like, I have a feeling that folks who are from California and are used to running or not used to running at Disney World would love it.
Yeah.
But folks and people who like it's their first experience mostly would love it. I'll elaborate on that in a second. But then people who are used to running in Florida at Disney World are like, what the heck?
But even then, like the
Yeah.
half at World, you're going down World Drive for 4 miles,
Well,
and you're
right.
like, what are
But,
you looking at? Like a sign for the
Yeah.
contemporary? Like you're
Oh,
not.
yeah.
It's not a nice race.
and well, yeah,
It's not a
It's
like
it's
half
empty.
of the course is on a
I mean,
road.
I
half
think
of
the
it's on
Yeah,
difference is,
freeway. Yeah, it's on
yeah, I
road.
think the
yeah,
difference is like those roads are open and empty.
yeah, yeah,
And there's, where like Disneyland, those are through
yeah.
the town. And just like you said, we all are used to running road races like wherever. And like in any city, you go through the good areas, you go through the bad areas,
Hmm.
not the terrible areas, but even sometimes you do. And it's fine. And,
Yeah,
you have spectators most of the time along the way. And that's the one thing that's nice about that is like
yeah.
it's actually more spectator friendly than Disney World is. It's like I did a
That's true.
thing. Yeah, I did a thing on YouTube around wine and dines. There's like all these questions like, how do I spectate? It's like, well, actually at Disney World it's kind of hard.
It's stressful.
It
It
Yeah.
is hard.
is. And like
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
Parking and
marathon
everything.
weekend, all these
Hmm.
people who are like, my spectator wants
Hmm.
to see me on the course. I'm like, okay, but they're probably going to see you at most 4 times.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
We're
and
like,
that's
At
if they're good
most.
at navigating
and that's if
around.
they're good
Like,
at
Yeah.
navigating around, they
yeah,
understand where
yeah.
where they can walk, where they have to take
Hmm.
transportation, what the transportation is that's available
Hmm.
on that day,
Hmm.
and the stars align and the moon is in the right phase.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
Versus like the Disneyland one,
Mhm.
yeah, they can like in the parks they can only see you on the promenade, but outside the park, you've got like
Yeah.
10 miles.
Uh-huh.
Free
Yeah,
reign. Yeah.
I love the promenade part in the Disneyland
I do
races. That
too.
part is
I do
so
too.
fun.
I do.
But you remember
Yeah.
that was the part that the CDE corrals were having such a hard time with because of
Hmm.
that neck down with the water tables right before
Oh,
you
really?
got on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was hard.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
think
where
that was
that
hard
was.
for people.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
think some people have trouble because some people might complain if they are a historic Disneyland runner because the
Mm.
original half marathon, you went to Anaheim Stadium and they let you in the stadium and you
Oh, they
ran
did
the.
that this year.
Oh, okay.
They,
Well, they
Yeah,
did
they
it
did
in
that at
20.
they fixed
Yeah,
that. So like
that's
they did.
awesome.
when
That
we
that
ran it, we got the grand tour of the parking lot.
yes,
Yeah.
we
But
ran it.
yeah, I saw it last year. They did let them in the
They
stadium.
had it back for Halloween too. I think it was because that first one when you did Dumbo, there was something going on at Angel Stadium and they couldn't. Like
See, I
there was
assumed
like a monster truck event or something. There was
oh,
something going on,
see,
but
I
but
assumed
we
it
did
was
it at
like
Halloween.
That
like
that makes a
here.
huge difference. That
Yeah.
makes a huge
Yeah.
difference because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's the anticipation. That's what I find. The
Yeah.
anticipation of is there a character? Oh, I'm getting to another park.
Yeah.
And when you have the
Yeah.
stadium to run around the bases, it's like, oh wow, this is.
Yeah.
It's
See,
just
I
cool.
ran.
I tend
Yeah,
Yeah.
not to
exactly.
look
Yeah.
at the maps too closely. I mean, I do, but I don't. And as we were running up, and you see like giant stadiums getting closer and closer and closer. It's like I was like, oh, do we get to run through the stadium? And then we get the tour of the parking lot. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it didn't bother me because here I know that like we've run enough races. Now like the 70.3 Happy Valley is the same problem. They actually finish on, at like the 50-yard line of the uh Penn
Penn
State.
State Stadium.
But
Mm.
there's a carpet that you have to run. I mean, it's the red carpet, right? But
Mhm.
there's no spectators. Or if there are, they're in the
Oh,
stands, which is so far
yeah.
away. That's
That's
like
weird.
That's
right,
not very
right.
fun.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
but it's because like these stadiums are all protecting the turf. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine,
Hmm.
here in Philly, I couldn't imagine, the link,
Mm.
allowing like
Yeah. Well, in a football
20,000 people
stadium.
right,
Yeah.
20,000
Uh-huh.
people
Yeah.
to run across the field.
No.
Or even,
No.
at Citizen Bank Park, same thing.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
did a tour several years ago with a club we were in of Citizen Bank Park, and they're like, you can walk on the dirt. Do not
Hmm.
walk on the grass.
I mean, I feel like every stadium is
Yeah.
like that. You're
Right,
not allowed to go
exactly.
near
That's
the
why
grass.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
didn't
Uh-huh.
really surprise or faze me when you were
Yeah.
like, hey, here's the stadium. The inside is super secret. You can't see it.
It was fun running through it. Like, because they had an announcer there, and then you could like see yourself on the big screen because
that's
they had a
cool.
camera that you ran by. Like, it was super fun.
That's pretty
And
cool.
that race, I hated that race so much because it was so hot, and I was like, I got injured in that race. Like, it was like, ugh, it was horrible.
Yeah, I remember your post-race recap was
oh my God,
it was not favorable. I think you said, and I quote, "never again," and here we are.
Here we are. But we can't have that kind of heat wave 2 years in a row. I mean, right? Like,
No,
it's not going to be
absolutely
100.
not.
Don't jinx that or
Impossible.
anything by throwing that out there in the universe.
115 degrees again in September in Anaheim. Hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah,
it was super hot. But the Anaheim part was cool. Or the stadium part was cool, I mean.
That is cool.
That's one of the things that worry me with these big races is, you know, we're used to we run a lot, but not everyone who does these runs in races a lot. And, you know, knowing how to adjust for the conditions of the day, right? Like if it rains or if it snows or if it's 100 degrees, you know, and, you know, like the water tables get a little less well stocked for the further back you go, you know, making decisions on like when to bring extra nutrition, when to bring your own hydration. And it's like, well, if it's going to be really hot, you have to expect that like the tables are going to be emptier, you know, as you get towards the back than they normally would.
Are you doing Halloween, Greg? No.
I'm not doing Halloween. No, I'm doing another marathon that weekend. So
don't you live like 10 minutes from there?
No, I live
from Disneyland.
No, it's
California's a big state.
Drive.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
I was gonna say
DC,
I might bring you a
it's DC to
Philly.
Florida, you know.
Florida. Oh my God. Well, I was gonna say that if you were, I was gonna bring you an extra hydration vest just in case it is 100 degrees.
No, I don't need one.
Just for you. Okay.
I was gonna say, Greg.
I practice running without hydration, so I'm well practiced.
You train for it. Train for dehydrated running.
I'm well trained. I'm well trained for it. So.
Oh man, you can't bring that up and not tell the story. Come on, I want to hear it.
There is no story.
There's no story. Greg just doesn't hydrate, and we tease him about it.
And they tease me. I do hydrate during the marathon, and I do hydrate when it is hot, but hot is anything over 80 degrees.
All right. Ingesting the sweat that rolls off your upper lip is not hydrating.
Does not count as hydration.
No.
That was
so I do not like to wear Gatorade though. I mean, I will tell you that. And like during the marathon, I just
spilled it on yourself.
I always
came back up.
Well, they overfill the cups. I don't think you need a cup.
No, you're those little cups.
You're like a third
this much.
Yeah, they're supposed to fill it halfway.
Yeah,
half is too much.
But I actually think that's one of the things that changed in Florida last year when they got rid of volunteers and went to
staff.
To staff.
Yeah,
is like I think a lot of the volunteer groups, like they do runs, they know those things.
They were better.
And you know now I'm like, but you know that's how California is too, right? It's not volunteers, and they don't necessarily like know the sport. They're filling and handing out cups, and if you don't know it, you might be like, oh, they want more. It's like no.
Well, the Gatorade's usually yellow, so it wouldn't like.
It is. It's not bad. It's just you're sticky. I don't like.
Yeah, a little sticky. Yeah.
A little sticky.
Did you guys ever use the Gatorade gels?
No.
So one year they
used the salt things, but not the Gatorade gels.
One year they had them on the Philly Marathon, the Gatorade gels. So they're really viscous. So like really like liquidy. And there is a picture of me crossing the finish line wearing a Gatorade gel. So I was wearing black pants that day. It was very cold. They dry white.
Oh, gross.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not the best look.
You're like, not a framer. I'm not going to keep this photo.
No. That one did not get shared.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. So you're both running Disneyland.
Yes.
January, whatever
January.
whatever it's called. I don't know what it's
Yeah,
called.
if they have the
It's like the Disneyland Half Marathon weekend, I think.
yeah, if they do the one in September next year, you can do it.
They're not going to. They already announced that,
Well, no,
right?
I thought they just said
There's-
Oh, you're right. After
after
2026.
2026. Last I looked, September is still in 2026.
Here they freaking go again, making me sign up for another race. What the
I don't know if I
heck?
will do September. I'm usually gone in September, and it's hot. I mean, California's
would
hot.
like to
The hottest time of the year is
Yeah.
September here. I can't believe they
Really?
schedule
I
a
don't
race
know.
for
The
September.
coldest
Yeah.
winter I've ever had was July in
Yeah.
San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco, like
That's
the San
different.
Francisco
Yeah.
marathon's in the summer because it's the
Yeah.
only time
I
it
ran
might
the
be
San
okay.
I ran the San Francisco Marathon in 2023, I think.
Mhm.
And that's at the end of July or middle of
Yeah.
July.
And it's cold.
But that's different than Anaheim.
It's
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, although it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's a beautiful marathon.
Is it hilly? I bet it's
I
hilly.
mean, it's San Francisco. You're not avoiding
Yeah.
it.
It's hilly.
Uh-huh.
But it's not as bad as like you have in your head. It's only like 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the bridge is probably the hardest part because I did it
See, I
one year.
loved the bridge.
I loved it,
But that'd be
the
so
bridge is-
cool.
But
Yeah,
the
you
bridge
get
is
up
like
to it.
much more uphill than you thought. And then
Yeah.
you ran, at least I ran underneath the bridge.
Yeah,
Like we turned around, ran underneath the
I
bridge.
found that to be
Yeah.
I found that to be the hardest part of that marathon was you cross the bridge and I don't know. I started in the second corral that year and because it was my first marathon like after having the fracture. And I made it to the bridge. The bridge is around like the 10K mark.
Mhm.
And I made it to the bridge. The sun had not really started coming up yet.
Mm.
So I got to see the sunrise over Alcatraz while crossing the bridge, which I had to stop.
That's awesome.
Like it was
That'd be really cool.
It was
That is
so
awesome.
beautiful. It was
Yeah.
so windy, but it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And there was still like the fog, on the water. So it was like a postcard. But then you get to the other side and there's like you run down to the fort there. And
That's
that
steep.
road is at such an angle that like
Oh.
most people were choosing to walk because it was so steep
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
you think I hear people complain about the clovers at Disney and how banked they are.
Oh, the
Yeah.
banking, yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
There's no banking here. It was just
those are nothing compared to
Yeah.
this. These
Yeah.
have to be at like 20 degrees. It's like a NASCAR track in places.
Whew.
Could you imagine
but it's awesome.
like your left
It's-
leg is like 2 feet longer than your right leg going down that. And then you run under and then you run
Back up.
Back up.
Yes. Well, I think I'll have
Over
to
the
find
bridge.
other races to do in California for a couple years
No,
for
you-
Disneyland
you should-
cancels these. Yeah.
You should do the San Francisco. It's summer, right? I mean, what
Yeah.
what
And it's in
marathon
San
is in
Francisco.
July?
And
Right.
you run past the Ghirardellis down to Fisherman
Mhm.
Wharf on the race.
Yeah.
And then there's a Ghirardellis right by the finish.
Nice. And it would be good to do as like a family vacation too, because it's in the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the summer in San Francisco is a nice place to go.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Mhm.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I that race, I would say, was probably one of the most well managed races I've done.
Mm.
And the day
That's
before,
good to know.
I think the day before they had like a 5K, which was like a nice way of kind of getting
I
everyone.
feel like marathons all do that now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a thing. They
Yeah.
all seem to do that the day before.
Yeah,
It's weird.
I ran
Yeah.
the Montreal Marathon that same year,
Yeah.
which is in like September maybe. And oh yeah, because I did that. That was the weekend after the Atlantic City 70.3. And that one, it was kind of the same thing. It was like chilly. And it's through Montreal, which like is kind of
Pretty
hilly,
awesome.
but it's
Yeah.
not hilly. And it was kind of cold, but it wasn't cold.
Mm.
But the first half of that, like if you do that, like the first half is beautiful because it's all in the city. The second half is like this long out and back along the subway. But it's super spectator friendly because John would get on the subway, go to the next stop, see me, get on the subway.
Oh, because
Go
it's
to the
like along the
Oh,
subway
that's
line.
cool. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like up and
Uh-huh.
it's like the Broad Street run in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
up and down it's like up and down the subway. There's like a little kind of like lollipopping at the end,
Yeah.
before the turnaround. But the fun thing on that is like you got 7 miles of net downhill, and then you turn around and you get to do it in reverse.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I did all this was in 2019. I did the Las Vegas Marathon, where you run down the strip. So there's a half marathon that's down the
So
strip and back.
was that the rock and roll one or a different
It
one?
was, and running down the strip is like running at Disney. It is so much fun.
I can
I mean,
imagine the energy is really high there.
and
Yeah.
people wear costumes. There's a lot of Elvises running down
Fun.
there.
Really? Oh, okay.
I
I
mean,
was like,
There's
really?
a
That's a
ton.
surprise. Maybe it shouldn't.
No,
uh-huh.
it's all
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
it
what
was like,
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
but
That's
the
true.
half was fun. But then when you got to the long out, the strip is only so long. Then
Yeah.
we ran through
Mm.
some warehouse districts and stuff, and I wish I'd only done the half instead of the full.
I feel like a lot of marathons are like that. The Brooklyn,
Yeah.
I don't think they do it anymore. I did the Brooklyn Marathon in like 22 maybe. And that one was the same way. Like the first half of it was fabulous. The second half of it was basically an out and back on a highway.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of marathons
Yeah.
do that, where like the first half is like an amazing race. And the second half is just like mind-numbingly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's just lots of places that maybe they don't have to, but it's sort of like there's only so much that's sort of the destination. Like there's only so much Vegas Strip. Like you can.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But there's also like the logistics of it, right? You're asking a city to shut down significant parts of it and impact travelers for basically the majority of
half the day at least. Yeah.
Where like I think a half marathon is much more palatable to say, hey, we're going to shut this down from like 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think is more palatable than like, hey, we're going to shut this down from like 4 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And in Las Vegas, I think the race started at 6 or 7 p.m. You ran out. You started at the end of the day. It was a total. It was a totally different concept, right? Like, maybe
I thought it was a night race.
Maybe I don't eat on the course, but I do eat before I run, and so it was weird to be thinking, because I don't want to eat right before I run because I don't want to throw up.
You're like, so when do I eat my last meal?
When
do I eat?
Yeah, do I eat just breakfast and then?
Because
there's
nothing as much fun as running with all that sitting in your gut.
You just talked me out of it, Greg, because that's why I hated Boston more than any other reason, is because it didn't start till like 11 or 12. I forget. It started late in the morning, and it just totally threw off the food.
But that's different from it starting in the evening.
Yeah.
Either way, it's like I need to get up and do my thing and run. Not like
all these.
Then stay out late the night before is what I would suggest, and don't get up to like.
And go to bed and then get up and make it like breakfast.
So,
Exactly.
You remember when Springtime Surprise first came back, right? The courses haven't really changed since Springtime Surprise started. They're with the exception of the 5K, which right now, like every 5K at Disney is the same 5K. But people were complaining that the Tower of Terror 10 miler was originally a night race, and now it's like it starts at the normal Run Disney 5 a.m. time, and I'm like, personally, I hate running at night.
Same.
Because I'm tired. And like you have to eat through the day, and I much prefer doing endurance sports without a belly full of everything I
food.
eat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I don't need to haul that around.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
you control. If you want to eat something, you can eat something in the morning, but not a full meal. I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, some people.
And you're not tired.
Some people in the if you're an F, you might have eaten a full meal by the time you get to the start line.
That's true.
Well, right. Yeah. For some reason, I thought that was like an 11 or 12 p.m.
I can't remember. It wasn't that late. I think the sun was going down on us. But
because all the pictures you see are of people running through the strip at night.
It's night. It's night by the time you get there because you run out and then you turn
I see.
around and it's dark by the time you run like 3 miles out and then back. And
Gotcha.
yeah.
Although I'll be honest, like I never really had a desire to do the rock and roll race out there. It just kind of looked a bit chaotic. But I do want to do the Vegas T100 at some point. I'm like, that looks fun.
What's that? Sorry. Yeah.
So T100 is a competitor to Ironman. So like the Ironman distance is 140.6 miles, right? The T100 is 100 kilometers. So it's a little bit less.
It's a lot shorter.
It's like an ultra. It's like a double marathon.
That's a lot shorter.
It's less than a half Ironman.
Is it all running or is it a triathlon?
No, it's a triathlon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And like the distances in triathlon space, for those who like are used to the normal like sprint, Olympic, 70.3 and full, it's kind of a strange distance because like the run I think ends up being like 12 kilometers, but apparently it's 12 very good kilometers.
But 12 kilometers at the end, that actually doesn't sound that bad. It would be like more than Olympic half, significantly less than a 70 point whatever.
Well, right.
Like, right?
Yeah. An Olympic, Olympic is 10K.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a little bit more than an Olympic.
Just a little bit more than an Olympic.
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
It's a much longer bike than an Olympic.
Oh. So is the swim as short as an Olympic? Because you could sell me on this, Jill.
The swim is a little bit longer than Olympic, but it's not like super long. I don't know off the top of my head what it is.
Do you swim in a pool then? In Vegas, do you swim in a pool or do you go out to lake out there?
It starts at
Lake Mead or Lake Las Vegas. Okay.
Yeah. They did one at Miami last year. I don't think they did it this year. I was looking to see if they had that. I was like, I'd sign up for that one because the bike was entirely in the stadium.
Oh my God, like laps?
Yeah. I'm like, that sounds fun. Well, it'd be like it's like, come on, it's a triathlon. It's like NASCAR on bikes.
I want to see you start doing the things that CDE from Peloton does, the track races. I could totally see you doing that. Yeah.
I love her.
I know you love her. I do. I know that.
But that was her gig before she was a Peloton instructor.
I know. Yeah, totally. That's her thing. Yeah.
I got pre-COVID. I was working in Manhattan 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And
did you get to go to some of her races?
Back then you could like basically just walk in and pick up a bike like any other spin studio. I took so many of her classes live, and that was ones where like all 45 minutes to an hour long. Now they're all like now every
20 minutes. I know.
like 20. I'm like, man, I have to stack like 500 to get my hour bike.
Yeah.
And it's like she's from Downingtown, so the same town I live in. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think they lived in the I don't know.
I thought she was from Pittsburgh. Maybe I'm just confused.
No, she's
from Philly. Yeah.
And she and her husband for the longest time lived in the Lehigh Valley, which is like Allentown, Bethlehem. And I think I saw that they're back in New York now, but I'm like they're like in this area, so it makes sense. Like there's a velodrome in I think it's Bethlehem.
Oh,
so it makes
that's
sense
maybe why she got introduced to it.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would be in like that area.
Yeah, I've taken one of her classes live, but that was after COVID when you had to like use RunDisney registration skills to get in.
Oh no, RunDisney registration. Getting a bike at Peloton class these days live is much harder than RunDisney registration.
I've done it a few times, but not very recently.
I haven't
in
tried.
New York.
Yeah,
you went to New York and got into that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, when they were in their old studio, which was much smaller, before the explosion during COVID, you basically could just walk in and get a bike more often than not. They built this big, huge new studio in Hudson Yards that opened like during COVID.
Yeah, that's where I've been.
Yeah. Now it's not as quaint. It's more like a production studio.
It is definitely like a production studio.
Yeah, this was like, it's typical New York. It was in the basement of the building.
Yeah.
a camera on a track in the ceiling and a couple, kind of mounted on pillars, and it was much more basic. And I don't know.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, it felt like going to any other studio, but with a little bit more professionalism.
Nice.
But yeah. Now we want to open a business here that's kind of like spin for triathletes. So
are you going to make everybody be on rollers? Is that how that's going to work? People bring their bikes and you.
Oh God, we would need, if everybody was on rollers, we would need an ambulance.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
for sure.
No.
You would just need to have EMTs right there on site. Yeah.
Think like stationary bikes and Zwift.
Yeah.
Take the virtual group ride and make it a virtual group ride in person.
There you go.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the topic was Disneyland, and we keep getting off topic because
we're off topic.
We talked about it a little.
Yeah, we did.
We've all been to Disneyland.
Right. We've all been to Disney, and we just don't sit down and talk all that often when we're not at Disney. But it's fun. So did you sign up for all 3 races, Sharon?
For the Disneyland? No, I signed up for Dumbo. Just Dumbo.
I signed up for Dumbo. You should go, Bill. You should go. I'm just telling you. You'll regret it if you don't go.
I know. But now I need to chase down a charity bid.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, but
you can get one.
Well, I'm racing this year on Ironman Foundation, which I need to start fundraising for them. But I did the math, like, for the most part, and it kind of came out the same because like they cover some stuff that like the VIP stuff for the spectators that we'd pay for anyways. But back when I was working corporate, it was easy because you make a charitable donation and the company you work for matches it, right? So you only had to make half. Now I'm like, you mean I have to do like actual fundraising now and find people who are willing to part with their own money so I can go do a race? I'm like, that sounds so funny. Versus like when it was the company that I worked for doing it. But yes, I will be soliciting donations for that because I like running for these charities. Although I haven't done Disney on it. John did last year. Yeah, last year. Marathon weekend. He wasn't originally planning to go. Is when we kind of first started being an item, I guess. And he ended up running, I think it was the 10K that year. And then he ran all the princess races, which I thought was hysterical. Like his first real Disney experience was at
Princess. Yeah.
I tried to get him to wear a tutu. I bought him one, brought it down. He had it on. He's like, I can't run in this.
He's like, I'm sorry, this isn't happening.
Right. You just couldn't do it. I get that.
And then he gets out there and he's like, there's so many guys in dresses. I'm like, right.
I told you it'd be fine. Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay. Everybody is letting their inner princess out at Princess Weekend.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's the Pink Pony Club.
Right. Yeah. And it's in Florida, so it can't
be. It's in Florida. Yeah.
It's in Florida.
There you go.
Right. That's a statement these days. So
yeah. But I think we'll miss Disneyland. I mean, like for me, it's nostalgic because it was my first coast to coast. I did the I did the half marathon at Disney World, which I heard about. I didn't have Dopey then even. And I heard about the Goofy and I was like shocked. I was like, who could run a half marathon followed by a full marathon? Because it was all I could do. I was still at that point in my life where I was learning to run and it was just unbelievable. And then it took me guys, I didn't go to Disneyland until September of that year. It took me that long to say, I think I can run again. I think I can. And
I can do another one.
I still remember starting because you started over by the Disneyland Hotel way back when. And this
that would be
woman
much more convenient than today.
Yes.
Only if you were staying at the Disneyland Hotel.
Exactly. I stayed at some other hotel on the other side. It was really awesome.
That's where I stayed.
You walked right to the start line, and it was super easy. But I remember I wasn't in the A corral. Let's just say that. And this woman ran next to me and was like,
there.
"You can do it." Exactly. That's what I like about it, though, right? You see what it's like to run in all the corrals, and there's so much difference.
Yeah,
it's all fun.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like,
So,
so Ashton started noticing this. He's getting older, and he started noticing at Florida, there's like corral envy, and
mhm.
like it's a real thing, and it's a
Mhm.
thing because they got the balloon ladies, but California has the balloon ladies too, and I think people, they want that experience of like not being so stressed out about getting
Mhm.
swept while still being able to like get the pictures they want. But of course, like the further back you are, the longer the lines are going to be.
Mhm.
And even
Mhm.
for like, if you're like in A and like, you know, taking your time, like Sharon, you and I experienced this, right? We weren't like
Mhm.
hauling, at Springtime
Mhm.
Surprise. We were kind of like, it's kind of a fun run. And
Mhm.
like the lines got kind of long at some of those.
Mhm.
But like for the back of the Packers, what
Oh
we
my
saw is
God.
like 5-minute lines or 3-minute lines. They saw is like 40-minute lines or an hour line.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. When I did that
I can't
that
even think
5
about
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
we
Right.
when I walked that 5K from D with my daughter and a couple of my friends, and it was literally like I could not even fathom. Like we saw this, it must have gone through a line for some character went through like 3 countries, like just this huge. I was like, it's going to take those people an hour to get through that line. Like that's
Oh,
crazy.
that's
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And people get swept because like they have to choose
Hmm.
between the character picture
Yeah.
and getting swept. And if you're gonna wait
Hmm.
an hour in a line for a picture, then like you're
And I
gonna
always like the
you're gonna
run
get
pictures
swept.
better anyway. The ones where that they take
I
of
do
you running. The
I do
character
too.
pictures aren't even that good.
I do too.
They're dark. They're
Yeah.
always dark, or something's
The
wrong,
lighting
or
isn't great.
Yeah.
You look like
yeah.
crap because you've been running,
No,
But
like
you look
I
like
will
you
say
have Gatorade all over you. You have
you're
Gatorade all
covered in
over you.
Gatorade and
You're covered.
Gatorade goo on your pants, and you're
Yeah,
like, hey,
you got white gels on your black pants.
baby.
hey now.
Uh-huh.
I will say I think that the on-course
Mm,
photographers in
mm.
Florida,
Or better.
I think
Are better.
even
Way
over the
better.
last 2 years, like, they have gotten substantially better.
Yeah, the Disneyland
They,
ones aren't. They're not as good.
They're less experienced.
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't get nearly as many.
Give them another
Hmm.
decade. Oh, wait, we're on pause.
Oh, except we're on
they
pause.
are.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
right, right, right.
Except we're on pause. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, like, the
Yeah.
photographers, they're not used to taking, like I mean, unless they're on the side, like an event photographer or something.
Hmm.
They're used to taking portraits, stills in the
Yeah.
park.
Yeah.
And then they're asked to do these because it's the same people.
It's
And
amazing they can do it. Yeah.
right, and we're like the ones in
Hmm.
Florida, it's the same ones race after race, and they have, 5, opportunities a year because there's also the cast member
Hmm.
5K they do.
Hmm.
Yes,
Five
so
plus
they've got
three
5.
Hmm.
plus
There's
3 or 4 times, right? So it's like
Hmm.
right,
up to
right.
15. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get some practice.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
I think you probably get better ones well, you definitely get better ones of those if you're an earlier crowd too, because there's less people around you.
Oh, yeah.
And so like you'll get like 4 photos from the same angle or the same time because everybody gets you versus if you're back in the back,
So
then they're trying to get 30 people are going across at the same
yeah.
time.
So
Yeah.
anyways, so
Yeah.
back to the thing with Ashton. So we were staying at,
Hmm.
Animal Kingdom, Lodge, which we excuse me, haven't stayed there in a while, and, that was the first DVC we bought. So anyways, so we're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and, from the 10-miler, we went back, showered, changed, got breakfast, and then headed out to go to the park. And
Hmm.
as we're heading out, people are still flowing in from the
Oh
race,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Because,
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that
it's,
always happens. Yeah.
yeah, like for
Yeah.
us, it's like it's only 10
Hmm.
miles. Like, come on.
Hmm.
And, for a lot of people, it's like this is the longest distance they've ever run. And this lady, she's still in her outfit. She's got her bib still on, dried sweat on her. And, Ashton's got his medal around her neck. And she looks at him and she's like, "What crowd you run in?" And he's like, "A." And she's like, "Lucky." And then like does an about face and walks off. He's 15, so he's like, in that spot where he's partially an adult and partially still a kid. And he's like, WTF, man.
Oh, okay.
But it's like,
Yeah.
in the park, we've
Yeah.
all had that where like someone will
Mhm.
be talking to you and then they're like, oh, well,
Mhm.
like, how'd you do? I'm like, I did all right.
Mhm.
And they're like, what does all right mean? What crowd you? I'm like, A. And that's the end of the conversation. I mean, you had to have
Yeah.
esteemed that.
Yeah. Or if they're like, oh, you're so serious, right? You're so serious.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
for fun. And I'm like, yeah, it's for fun, but you're in a corral because you run other races. It's not
Yeah.
because
Well,
Yeah,
and like
you're
basically.
not
that
having
whole like
fun.
you don't PR at Disney. It kind of bugs me a bit. It's like I understand the sentiment, but also like there's a lot of people who BQ at Disney. Like
Yep.
a lot of people do
A couple of
PR.
our friends, yeah.
A
Some
couple of
of
our
our
friends,
friends.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
one on purpose and one just because she
It's
felt
because
like it.
she's just that fast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I said to my coach the
Mhm.
other day, I'm like, I'd love to run Boston. I said, but I keep being like a couple minutes off of a BQ. And I'm like, I don't know that I have it in me to put the
Mhm.
level of focus to like drop triathlon for a season and just be like, let's go BQ.
Mm.
I'm not naturally a fast runner. It takes effort.
Boston's overrated. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah. I looked at doing
Having
it.
Mhm.
done it though, you've got that off your bucket list. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
I mean, it could BQ, might
Mhm.
BQ, or we
I
could just
think
wait until like the standard drops to what we're capable of running when we're like 85.
So when we're 70, Jill,
Yeah.
you and me, we're gonna
Yeah.
go run Boston.
So you're yeah, you if
Uh-huh.
you trained more, you'd be faster than
Yeah.
me.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyways,
You definitely put a lot more miles on your legs than I do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean that's the response
Mhm.
to like that kind of comment. It's like, well,
Mhm.
yeah, my training plan is like 16 plus hours a week. How many hours do you put in?
Yeah. Well, but it's also
Mhm.
funny because when you go to the first time I was in a corral was like I guess it was the first time I had put in a proof of time because I had only just started running when I started at Run Disney. So like was in C or whatever I had put for the
Yeah.
first, and the first time I put in a proof of time, I was like, A, what? I'm not that fast. I was like, that
Yeah.
puts me in A? Like,
Yeah.
okay. Because if you go to like I do Peach, like I do other races that have proof of
Yeah.
times, and like I'm not fast enough to be in the front of those races because they have like
Yeah.
pros in them. They have people who are running 4-minute miles. Like, okay, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, yeah.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
last time I looked, I was like just inside the seated. Like if I wanted it, I could get a seated entry at most of the Philly races. Um, but also slow enough that I don't want to.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like that implies that like you
Yeah.
actually need to perform on that day. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a level of pressure that I don't want.
That's a lot. That's a
Mm-mm.
lot of
Yeah.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
So the seated is like top 50 or top 100 proof of times or something like that. But it's like, yeah, you end up in the same corral with the folks who are going to run a 49-minute 10 miler.
No
It's
thanks.
like, no,
Nope, not me.
that's not me. Nope.
No, it's okay.
I
Don't need
don't,
to do that.
it's like, it's not me.
Uh-huh.
All
And
right.
I don't even want to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, not so much. I had the weirdest experience of that 10K I did last weekend because they started a 5K 10 minutes before they started the 10K, and it was the same
Oh,
course.
that's
And I
true.
was actually, it was weird. And I was
Usually it's the other
actually,
way around.
it should have been the other way around. And I was actually racing for time, so I was really trying to run. But these 5K people were like, I'm talking the Disney. If this had been a race that was a Run Disney race and there had been a Facebook group, it would have been on fire because it was literally like, I'm running and there's like 12 people. There's like a stroller. There's like a dog. I mean, it was like the 5K. When it was the back of the 5K that was there when we're trying to
yeah.
run through. It was literally like being in Mario Kart. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get really people. It was the
It's
worst.
funny. Funny you say that.
Ah.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but one of the things I love about it is like anybody can create a group, right?
Yeah.
So as a result, there's a ton of Disney groups and a ton of Run
Tons of
Disney
them.
groups,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm in probably 30 or 40 Run Disney groups on Facebook. but there's like 3 or 4 that are really good. Most of them tied to podcasts. But a few of them not. And there's a few like runDisney, celebrities, right? Because, they created the group 10 years ago, and so everybody knows them. But, the ones around like Princess, especially, the drama that happens in some of them, it's like,
Oh my God.
you have both ends. You have people who have done like a million of them. And then you have people who like, this is their first one. And like the questions that they're asking are mostly legitimate questions. And then you've got like the folks who've done a million of them, but it's not like your normal Facebook group where like, what happens in a normal Facebook group, right? Someone asks a stupid question and the very first and 400th response is use the search function.
Right. Yeah.
You don't see that in the runDisney groups.
Not
right?
usually.
Instead, you see all of the posts about, either how stupid that person is or how awful runDisney is, right?
Lots of
Or
that.
how awful the 8 Corral runners are or something else.
Yes.
It's like, remember what, 2 years ago when when sweeping, you remember sweeping was a bit more lax until about 2 years ago. And it got more serious. And like they used to say, people used to say like on the marathon, once you made it to Hollywood Studios, as long as you kept moving,
Yeah. They're not gonna sweep you.
you would be allowed to finish. That's no longer the case, right? Now they will sweep you up until mile 26.0, which I personally think is a little unfair to
Yeah, that's a little
someone
harsh.
like when you're in sight of the finish line, like let them finish,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But that year after the marathon, there was a lot of comments that were like, Corral F should start before Corral A.
Oh yeah. That
And
would kill people.
yeah, you see it
Yeah.
resurface every once in a while, but it's like that's actually dangerous for
Well,
that to
and
Yeah.
happen.
but that's what happens in the 10K and the 5K too, because there is no proof of time. So you have like 5-year-olds at the A corral of the 10K.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Disney, they won't change the 5K.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can talk them into changing the 10K. Like Ashton once, he got like C or B or something. And I went up and I'm like, hey, he's expected to be in the top 3 for this race. We need to put him in A. And they did. But, he also had like a lot of, he had proof of time for the half marathon. And they're like, okay, we see it. We'll make it.
Yeah.
But I've also seen them be like, yeah, we're not making any changes for the 10K. So like that, that's, I think, more of an exception. But yeah, it's like the race you were just describing reminded me of those posts because I'm like, that's exactly the position they put you guys in.
They did. It
Like
was
the pointy end of
comical.
the 10K is having to go through and around, but more likely over the back end of the 5K,
For the 5K.
which is not fair to either groups.
No. I did feel bad. I actually did like hit somebody. I mean, I didn't like knock her over, but I like had because you do it because you're just trying to dip and dodge, and I'm like, oh my God, like, and I mean, it was literally like these people are walking slow 6 across, and I'm
Here's
like
the thing.
busting through. Yeah.
So like that's the flip side of all these runDisney groups existing, and is I have seen people get called out by name or bib number who misbehaved on course.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know
a
that
lot.
that's right either.
I saw that about the people who were skipping the course. I saw that drama after marathon weekend that like it
There's
was
that guy.
people at the back who were allowed that like the balloon ladies or whatever the sweepers were having them cut the course so that they could finish, and like who cares? But all these people were like, oh, that's not fair. Like they're not using it to get into Boston. Like whatever, they get their medal anyway. Like let the people finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I always look forward to Brian Davis's analysis.
Oh yeah, because he finds all the ones that cut the course. Yeah,
he identifies all the bibs that appear to have cut the course because
Yes.
I know.
they said
I'm like, does he have a job? Can you imagine how much time that takes?
I know. And as a Club runDisney person, in Platinum, as they as he refers to them, the mice with benefits.
Yeah.
I give him my bib numbers because we're in the advanced, the platinum allows you to get into B without proof of time. But I have proof of time, which gets me into A. So I give him my bib number because he's trying to kind of put a lasso around who the platinum people are, trying to analyze like what's the effect that platinum
Oh,
has.
like who are the slow people in B, basically?
Yeah, like what's the
Yeah.
effect that platinum has on the
Uh-huh.
seating?
Yeah.
Because I mean, like there's a I think
Because it would move people from B to C who would otherwise be in B. Yeah.
or worse, right? I know someone who we mutually know someone who would qualify probably for D in at least in Dopey, but runs from A. And Club Run Disney gets him in B, right? So it's like I think there's this general feeling that's not really fact based, but this general feeling that this platinum group is causing all these people to not get into B or to get in not get in the crowd that they think, or
Yeah.
causing problems. And the reality is like Club Run Disney is not that big,
No,
right?
especially not platinum. That's why nobody
It's
can
not
get
that
in.
big.
Yeah, it's not
Well,
that big.
right. It's limited.
Yeah.
I think he had looked at it the first year it came out and said, it appeared to be like 0.1% of the field,
Yeah, it's not many.
which
That's not very many.
feels about
No.
right.
No.
It's like, what's the effect that has? But still, like, you still hear people who are like, oh, those Club Run Disney people, they're not where they belong.
Well, and I also think people don't know. Like people just, you know what I
No,
mean? Like they don't know the details. They're like,
no.
oh, that bumps you up to what corral, and it bumps everybody. Like people don't do their
Well,
research
and
necessarily.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the downside of the internet, right? Is like, there's people, say what they feel is true, but it may not be, and it gets repeated and repeated,
And there's no fact checking, so reality doesn't exist.
and
It's
then it
great.
becomes folklore,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
We started talking about, how running the half marathon in Anaheim is running through the city and how it's different. And I keep like thinking back to that, and I'm like, it is more like a local race.
Totally.
It is so much like it.
It's like the best local race
It's
in
the
the
best
world.
of both worlds. You get to
Yeah,
run through all the Disney parks and then have a local race in Anaheim.
right. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the advantage of that is it's so much more spectator friendly. And I don't know what what it was like at Halloween, but when we did Dumbo last year, some of the signs out on the course were
Oh
awesome,
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
right? And the guy dressed up as Mandalorian, like this is supposed to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like
There was
sketchy character meets, like random people from Anaheim that put out like like the characters in Times Square that you see
Yes.
that are
yes.
like shady, like they end up on the side of the room. It's funny.
Elmo. You saw Elmo on the side
Like
of the road.
Elmo's there,
Uh-huh.
like sketchy Elmo. Yeah.
And the up house. I think there was the house
Yeah.
somebody built
I
that
remember
looked like
that.
up.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
I mean, clever. I mean, I think the people that
Yeah.
live there are very clever. So,
Yeah.
Well, they're used to it too. Like it's right across the street.
Right.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
When we got
In the
there, like
neighborhood.
that was kind of a strange thing for me. So we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel. Because it was our first time there, and we're like, all right, we're gonna stay on property because coming from Disney World, it's like you don't know any different. And went out for a run, and I'm like,
There's nowhere to run.
no, there is.
It's sketchy.
I'm like,
It's sketchy. Yeah.
see, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it was that bad.
Oh, I didn't like it.
But I've run in Orlando before, which I
Yeah.
think
Oh, there you go.
is sketchy
Did
too.
you go down to Catella? You ran down Catella Avenue, and you didn't think it was
I have
sketchy?
no idea, but
Oof.
you could look that up on Strava.
Sketchy.
Oh, we stayed in Disneyland, and I made like the big square.
Oh, I've done that. It's like a
of the
3-mile
hotel.
loop around the parks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you
Outside of the park.
run around the park. And
Yeah.
I'm like, the first time I'm like, wow, it's so small.
Yeah.
We're like in Florida, we run an entire marathon
Yeah. Oh, it's so much
on
smaller.
property.
on the property.
And there you run like a 5K and you run completely
You've run around
around
the entire thing. Yeah, that's
the
true.
circumference of the property.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
well, given that, it's impressive that they got a 10K inside that space.
Well, that's even better because they do it by you go through every single land. Like, it's not like you just run through. I mean, you run through everything
You
in
run through
Disneyland
everything.
and California Adventure. Like, you get to go through
I
everything.
tell
It's
you,
really cool.
you know, there's that
Yeah.
backstage section that you're running kind of underneath the monorail line.
Yeah.
And like they have it lit up with like pretty lights and whatnot. But it goes down and then up because like there's a road that is going under.
Yeah. The tunnel thing.
Yeah, that's like my least favorite part of the races at Disneyland because that's actually quite a steep hill.
Yeah, it is a grade.
And you know, we ran through it on all 3 races. Or no, 2 of the 3 races. And both times, you know, I saw, you know, the wheelchair guys like stuck on it. Chattanooga 70.3 is next weekend. And it's a redemption race for me because last year that's the one that my chain popped on at like mile 21. The chain broke and I sat there for an hour and a half on the side of the road watching the fast and then the less fast and then the slow people go by.
Did you eventually get it fixed? Did somebody come help you or because why didn't you just leave? Yeah.
It took 90 minutes and the SAG guy eventually made it to me. There had been like, he told me he's like 40 people called this in, but apparently there was like 12 people who needed help changing their tire.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, you know, as a triathlete, like there's some basic skills you need. Changing your tire is one of them. Changing your inner tube. But yeah,
you just rolled me out, Jill. I'm out.
It took him like 3 minutes. It took him like, oh, come on. It's a little practice. It's not that hard. It took him like 3 minutes and I was back on the road. And it's like, if only I had that, like I carry so many tools with me and I'm like.
You didn't have the one to fix your chain.
It never crossed my mind that I would need a chain breaker. And
no.
I'm like, he's like, you know, you really should. Yeah, he was like, you know, you really should call it. He's like, you're really close to the cutoff at this point. And
like challenge accepted.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, well, if you hadn't taken so damn long to get here, I wouldn't be. And so, you know, I convinced him to take, you know, 2 links out of the chain. He's like, well, you know, you can only use half the cassette. I'm like, that's fine. I only need 2 gears. On this course, I'm like, I only need 2 gears. And I ended up getting it done and I PR'd taking that, you know, 90-minute snooze out. I PR'd my bike and I still got it done in under 6 hours.
That's good.
That
wow.
It was very good. I pissed a few people off on the bike. I pissed a few people off on the run because on the run, I think I ran like.
Well, because you were catching, like you were.
I was catching up.
Past
you
a
were
bunch of people.
But you were full of adrenaline too.
At that point,
and you were passing all these people who were slower than you. So
at that point, it's the I'm angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it is like this.
Running with road rage.
Like this past weekend. I don't think I told you guys. Yeah, I did. You probably saw my Facebook post. I did a time trial race. I ended up winning my division by 6 seconds, but I actually won it by about 5 minutes because I made a wrong turn.
Oops.
So I actually did. So this is a classic case of like being in the lead in any race is not always a good thing. I was it was a 2-lap race. It was 28 miles. At the end of the first lap, I was the lead bike. The flagger that is supposed to tell us where the turn wasn't ready for the lead bike. Didn't expect bikes yet. And at that point, you know, I had started like in the middle. It's a time trial, so you start like every 30 seconds apart. And so I had started like, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes back from the lead bike. And I ended up passing them like, you know, probably around like mile 12 or something. And, you know, so I ended up going down like a half mile, 3/4 mile. And I'm like, you know, there should be bikes heading in the opposite direction. And there were no more bikes. And because, you know, this section of the course, you know, is kind of coming into like the start. And there was a second race that was behind us. So there should have still been those bikes coming out. and there was no one. And I turned around and looked back, and nobody was behind me.
Oh,
I'm like, shit. So I
Oops.
turned around. So the rest of the race was exactly the same as Chattanooga. It was that like
Oh,
rage.
you're like passing people.
It was
Yeah.
it was like the rage.
yes.
Yeah, it's like rage cycling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like they let me down. I'm going to show them. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Well, and
it's
the
somebody, it's
girl.
not your fault. It's not
Well,
your fault, though. That's the.
well, I mean, it is, because like as the athlete, you're supposed to know the course. But yeah, I
Okay.
agree. I'm like, where was the flag?
Yeah.
Where was the flagger? Where was the
Yeah.
signs?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's funny because the girl that came in second, she and I know each other. She's another triathlon coach, and I said to her, I'm like, did you feel like prey the whole second lap? And she's like, I saw you not make the turn, and I knew that you're going to be hunting me down. And she had on like these like bright, like safety green booties on, so I could actually pick her
Chase the
out.
green.
Yeah, I
Pick
could
her
pick
out.
her
Yeah.
out from a distance because I could
Yeah.
see that. And
Yep.
I'm like, is making progress. And then there'd be a turn. I'm like, where'd she go? But yeah. So that was
Fun.
That was my weekend. And so yeah,
You are a competitor, Jill. You're a competitor.
I'm not very competitive.
You are. No, not at all. You're a hunter. I don't know what you are, but
No, I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I don't know
No,
what
I don't know what you're talking about.
no.
Totally
Yeah,
not competitive
exactly.
at all.
I finished first.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
we're
for the
just
people that
talking
aren't
about
competitive.
we're just talking
We're
about
just
rage.
talking about Disneyland.
Yeah, we're just talking about rage cycling.
Rage cycling. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a term, but it is now.
It is now. Yeah. It's
Yep.
like a late onset. It's like a late onset runner or swimmer, right? It's a
Right,
term.
there you go. Adult onset.
Adult onset. Adult onset.
All right. So Nancy is sending out a group text. So Nancy, if you listen to the podcast this far, we missed you. We're sorry you weren't able to join.
Oh.
And we're gonna get it figured out for you next time. But
Just
prerequisite is you need internet.
Yeah.
Yes, we missed you.
We miss you.
Yeah.
All right. So moral of the story is you guys are doing Disneyland, and you have talked me into tracking down a charity bib.
Do it.
Oh man, another race. But it'll be fun. Hopefully they have a cool, neat medal next year instead of the suitcase that they had.
I hope so. And some good, I hope they have some good swag to buy.
I'll tell you, I was so disappointed last year in that medal. I was like, because they hyped it up. They're like, if you do doping tempo, you get like this super special medal, and then that's the one they chose to give us. I was like, really. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. But whoever was in charge of approving that shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But anyways,
they have better.
Yeah. I'm like, for a company that's entire business is media, you would think they could do better.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you guys so much for spending the last hour and 42 minutes with me talking about Run Disney, Disney races. We've talked about multiple marathons, and we ventured into triathlon, and we ventured into making fun of me. So that's always a good day, I guess.
Always a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And Greg made fun of himself, so I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But hydrate.
I know my weaknesses. My kryptonite. Hydration's my kryptonite.
Hydrate. All right. So again, thank you very much for coming on. I truly appreciate it. And for our listeners, stay tuned next week for episode 7. Both episodes will come out on Thursdays. We're starting to get onto a cadence of releasing every Thursday. So thank you all, and I'll talk to you later.